Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and I know what you're thinking. Here comes the copium. And it could be a little bit of that, but I'll tell you something. You guys don't seem to realize how much influence you guys have over the game and how many things have changed because of you. And no, I'm not just talking about all the recent things with Thrones of Decay and Creative Assembly having to change up some plans. I'm talking about just the general style of what's happened with Warhammer 3 and the victories that you've gotten from it. Victories which you can keep having if things go well with Thrones of Decay and whatever happens in the future. We've all heard those rumors about 4 to 6 DLCs left for this game, but it could be more. I'm coming in with an edit now because this was recorded a few days ago, and since then there has been a bunch of news. For example, the leak for Golfag Maneater, and not only that, we have a really surprising amount of news regarding Total War Pharaoh, where Creative Assembly's apology tour has also extended to that, rather than abandoning the game like they normally do. Remember Thrones of Britannia, for example? They instead are doubling down, extending the map in a massive free update to give us a Bronze Age Total War. We haven't seen anything about it just yet, but the fact is that they're adding Mesopotamia, for example. The areas in Greece are going to be opened up and so on. That shows that the player base has fought back and made Creative Assembly actually get down and work on that title. Again, Creative Assembly are very well known to just abandon former titles in favor of working on the next one, which is going to bring some money in. Unless this title is absolutely massive, I don't imagine that this is going to be the big money maker, but it's a way forward and it's something very, very different. Like I said, the Warhammer Fantasy world is looking rather nice and full, but there's some very obvious blank spots, like for example Ind and Khuresh, two areas which are still blank, were hinted that they were going to be opened up eventually, even if it's just for minor factions, and yet here we are 2 years later and nothing. There's other places too which could have some extra legendary lords focusing on some minor race packs, like for example something in Araby, where, you know, the Great Desert of Araby is a very, very large region, but for some reason only one settlement. Pretty much all the regions of the Southern Realms, Astalia, Talia, and even some possibilities for like mini race packs, stuff that people have been asking for, which is like the Moot, you know, the Halflings. Some people are already expecting a mini race pack coming in with the Monkey King down the line, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, there's blank spots. There's definitely stuff that could be added in to have more variety and really fill out the Warhammer Fantasy world. Let's not also forget the Shogunate of Nippon, which is unfortunately missing on the map. Yep, it's still not even there, even though that the map can be expanded upon, as we've seen mods be able to do that. But as cool as these mods are, many of us do want this officially. Not only would that mean that it's officially supported, but it means that we could see the lore fleshed out, some really cool units that may or may not be as concept art hidden away in Games Workshop's vault. And believe me, from what I've heard from some very good sources, there's a lot of weird concepts that were just never brought to light. Now, Shadows of Change kind of killed that for me. I've said this publicly that I kinda lost hope at more race packs. Hell, I'm fairly certain that if Thrones of Decay would have been performing poorly, then we would see the future Total War Warhammer video pop up on CA's official channels any day soon, but it seems to be doing very well. Staff are very happy, and, well, it seems like the community is ecstatic too. Again, there's been rumors that there's only 4 to 6 DLCs left, and that scope could be increased as time progresses if this series does end up being profitable enough for Sega to keep the rifles out of the firing line. Even then you might be thinking, well, that doesn't change anything, but this is the thing, you guys have changed a lot. It's very important to look towards Shadows of Change here, because that led into the drama which managed to turn CA around. We ended up getting a very good DLC with Thrones of Decay, a patch which was absolutely gigantic. Sure, there's some issues, but I do expect hotfixes coming any day now, and not only that, but reworks, actual reworks all around. This has been one of the best DLCs in a long time, so it obviously is there thanks to you, the player. Again, with this recent patch cycle, we've got 3 legendary lords back again, right? Epidemius is a playable character. How cool is that? A lot of people are enjoying him, and let's be honest, he was 100% going to be a legendary hero originally, should they have followed the format of the previous DLC. Your pushback changed that. And that's not all. You, the players, have changed a lot over the years. Remember when Warhammer 3 came out and we started calling them monogod factions? Where it took the principal designer, right, the principal writer for Warhammer 3 to go out on interviews, even some that I did back in the day with him, and say they're not monogod factions, they're demon factions with a little bit of sprinkles. That's because there were some mortals to flesh out the demon rosters, but yeah, Champions of Chaos kind of blew that out of the water, so either there was some sort of lie being said there, or the player base did change stuff. And I'm very much aware that the player base did change things. People were asking for mortals because just demons alone meant that the monogod factions, demon factions apparently, were absolutely going to be crap. They were fleshed out with more mortals with Champions of Chaos and have been fleshed out with more mortals in Shadows of Change and Thrones of Decay, and it doesn't take an educated guess to say, yeah, we're likely going to get some more mortals when it comes to a future Sinesh DLC and a future Khorne DLC. Can't forget the radical change of Immortal Empires, right? Back in the day, you needed to have all 3 games. You needed to purchase 3 base game titles. Now, you don't. Now, Creative Assembly could easily say that that was always the plan, which they have said in the past, but I very much doubt it, because those consumer practices, good consumer practices, weren't always there, and I very much doubt that Sega would allow for such a good thing to happen unless they really had pushback by the community, which they did. Now, why did I talk about this and why it relates to the race packs? Well, it's very obvious about one thing. The Dogs of War are coming. We don't know exactly when, but there was a leak during the Shadows of Change drama that Creative Assembly strategically put in there to kind of distract us. We don't know exactly how the Dogs of War are going to be introduced, but I imagine it's going to be some form of really intricate mercenary design. Something that we've already kind of seen with like Total War Troy, for example, and well, there's been mercenary mechanics in previous Total War games too, but I imagine it'll be a bit more stylized and something to fit the Warhammer Fantasy world. For those of you who aren't aware, the Dogs of War are a mercenary faction in Warhammer Fantasy, and they're not really just all Italians, Estalians, Arabians, or the Border Prince, but you can find them everywhere. It's just the old book from 5th edition was just very centralized. I would not be surprised whatsoever if we ended up getting some units in a Dogs of War faction that could be from Ind, that could be from Khuresh, that could be from Nippon, the Kurgans, the Hobgoblin Carnates, well, the halflings, you know, they did mention the hot pots, and that's still not here. Alongside all the other stuff, you know, like the Galapagons, the Birdmen of Katsraza, and, well, maybe some Amazons, Albion Giants. The big thing here is this DLC would be the best way to start going, hey, look, remember this race? Remember this faction? Remember something that was introduced in the lore 20 years ago and then never mentioned again? Well, here it is. Naturally, stuff like that would start getting people interested in these races and factions more, and then people could start voicing, hey, Al Mukhtar's Desert Dogs are awesome, but what about a mini race pack? You know, something with 1, maybe 2 legendary lords, a legendary hero, and enough units to actually make a little bit of an army. We discussed something like this a long time ago, but it's something that could be possible. Obviously, something like Ind and Khuresh would be larger scale, requiring maybe 3 legendary lords, very similar to that of the Chaos Dwarfs, but a roster of that size too. It would be pretty interesting, and yeah, you know, fan demand does make them think differently. It's been proven before and it can be proven again, and I think one of the upcoming DLCs, if my theory is correct, will actually kind of prove that a bit. The Monkey King is going to come at some point. We know this, right? It's very, very obvious, and I imagine that he's going to play like a separate sub-faction to that of Cathay. Very similar to that how the Nanman are very different to that of the normal Han factions in Total War 3 Kingdoms. I'm expecting difference because that stuff is going to sell and is going to get more replayability. Fan outcry from that, and then a Dogs of War DLC would basically mean, hey, yeah, people want some new stuff. People are also asking for more races, and well, you know, there's the open spots here. Why don't we do something? Let's ask Games Workshop. Now, some people are going to say that Games Workshop are not going to allow for that because, I don't know, one reason or another, but again, Cathay was not originally in the plan for Warhammer 3. Cathay and Kislev, this is publicly known information by the way, will work together with Creative Assembly to redo them, and this is why we have these factions coming out for, well, they're already out for Warhammer 3, but coming out for Warhammer the Old World eventually. And you might be saying, well, Ind, Khuresh, Araby, the Dogs of War, all that type of stuff would be needed to be done by Games Workshop, and yes, you're true, but here we have an article, a little bit of a clip from an article regarding the Old World where devs have said, hey, yeah, we're increasing the scope of the project. there's been major rumors that Araby is in development, and obviously in the core rulebook for the old world stuff, right? In the lore section, we've got details regarding Talia and Estalia, right? These are factions that never had full complete armies. There's been whispers around that, yes, we might see them in the future. Same thing with a Norska book. Possibly either an arcane journal, supplementary for the Warriors of Chaos, or its own future army book after some sort of arcane journal, which is absolutely insane because people have been asking that for a while. Now, you might be saying here that it's a different IP and it can't be used. I tell you what, right? Here's, like, I would happily put some money into this. That can easily change if Games Workshop want that to, because at the end of the day, it's still in the Warhammer Fantasy umbrella. And here's a big thing, right? Creative Assembly have said long times now that the End Times is a different IP. They've told creators that too. It's been known because some creators have outright said it. Yeah, they said it's a different IP, blah, 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 blah. Which is understandable because it kind of acts as its own setting in a sort of way. Okay. Yet there's massive rumors that there is an End Times DLC in the works, isn't there? It's only a different IP when it's convenient, and given all the rumors with Warhammer the Old World, now that we know that the scope is increasing, well, we've known for some time now, unless Creative Assembly have plans to do a Total War Warhammer the Old World, which I very much doubt, because I think if they do Warhammer next, it's going to be about 10 to 15 years worth of 40k, there is no reason for them not to ask Games Workshop, hey, Khuresh, Ind, Araby, Estalia, whatever, is cool. We'd like to put it in the game, cross-promote it with your miniatures launch pack, which could incentivize people to buy it more. This is pretty much what I imagine was the original plan for Kislev and Cafe, but there's been loads of delays for a lot of stuff for the old world, let's be honest there. And before you say, well, that doesn't work, they never actually do cross-promotion, isn't it freaking convenient that the Slayer pack that we've seen so far, you know, Malachi McCason and so on, right? His units are the ones coming back for Warhammer the Old World when the Dwarves come out, right? The Slayer Pirates, the Doomseekers. I mean, it's very on the nose. I could be wrong there, but I have a feeling that the next book, the Empire book, will end up having some sort of connection to Null. Again, I could be wrong, I have in the past, but I feel very confident with this speculation, as I have been feeling recently with other speculations. So, yeah, let's wait and see. I feel fairly confident here, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think if a Dogs of War DLC comes out, and it's got stuff from pretty much different races and factions that we all kind of want in the game, and you guys start voicing that, I think that it's going to be the great push that it needs for us to finally get that there. I want to see this game fully supported, so do you. A lot of us do want to see the rest of the world finally realized, but I think they just need a little bit of a push. I don't know, time will tell. Obviously there's a lot of aspects that could change that. Most of the Warhammer team will be moved on to the main title, whatever the next one is, but who knows, maybe CA Sophia could start working on those DLCs. If you're new here, consider subscribing. It doesn't really cost you anything, it's completely free, and it just supports the channel, helps us fight the YouTube algorithm, you know, that type of thing. And, well, it would just be nice to get to 100k this year. We've been doing so well on the channel lately, it would be really, really cool. But, yeah, have a great day, I'll see you all again very, very soon.